I swear LeBron is the GOAT because of his longevity, bro. How many players do you know who play for 22 years and counting?
I don't care, man. Please leave me alone.
You're just mad because your so-called esports legends get washed in under half of that time.
Okay, well, my favorite player is probably UZI. I wonder how long he lasted. Let's see here. Started at Royal in 2012, ended on EDG in 2023. Oh, an 11-year career. And that's considered a decently long one in the scene. Wait, Smeb, Tens, Oliveira, all these guys are retired? Why do esport pros retire so much earlier than athletes? Let's first talk about what all of you are thinking right now, which is as you get older, your reaction time decreases and you are slower to execute the difficult and precise mechanics of the games that you play. But I think there is a lot more to it than just slower reaction time. After all, I am in my mid-20s and I'm as quick as when I was 16. When I play games, I get hard stuck gold. I don't blame my reaction time or my older, slower hands. So I did some research, and Dr. Caitlin McGee over at 1HP agrees with me. Basically, the age at which it starts to matter is way past your 20s, which is when these esport athletes tend to retire. This means that it has nothing to do with their age. Then what about injuries? There are plenty of cases where injuries massively affect the length of a player's career, but this is also true for traditional sports, where it happens much, much more often. Also, injuries playing a video game tend to be more treatable and even preventable to a certain extent. Players usually recover from them and do just as well once they return to the scene. So, what is it then? Recall I talked about reaction times getting slower with age? There is a study that goes a bit deeper and explains that the reduction is not caused by the delay in initiation, but rather from slower preparation. It is now time to talk about the consequences of an ever-changing game.
It's coming. And that's it! And that's when H-Box wins! It's been 2.5 years!
This is Hungrybox, one of the 5 gods of Melee, winning a major tournament in 2025. He is a player who has been playing since 2008, and he is not just a good player right now, he is one of the best players. In similar fashion, Mango Nation, another one of the 5 gods, is ranked top 3 right now on the Melee ladder. These players will soon reach a similar career length to LeBron James. How? What makes Melee different from League of Legends and the others? The difference is how often the two games change. Melee virtually does not change. There are new rules banning certain playstyles, but compared to the others, we can qualify it as a stable, unchanging game. What about the abomination? And yeah, I'm allowed to say this because I play the game. That is League of Legends. There is a major update every 2 weeks and hot fixes for new champions. Now, why on earth would changes in a video game make players retire earlier? It is because adapting to changes becomes harder and harder the more you adapt. We see it in everyday life, like when the elderly tend to struggle more with technology, or how every Windows update somehow makes people angrier despite fixing bugs and generally improving the software. There's a reason players tend to complain about changes more often than the new mechanics introduced at the beginning of each season. Although, to be fair, League players will complain no matter what, but I digress. Players have to go through this process of overriding small amounts of muscle memory and knowledge every single patch, something players in the NBA and Melee do not have to go through.
Past this year, I won't be competing in Melee if there's no stalling rules.
Facing the adaptation process twice a month throughout your entire career is far more straining than any potential decrease in reaction time. And the developers know that. Faker is still at the top and good players remain good despite of changes because Riot knows how much changes they can get away with. as much as the 200 years meme is funny, they know how much they can change to keep the pro scene somewhat consistent and not have a complete shift in pro play leaderboards every patch they release.
How many years?
So is the solution to just never change the game? Absolutely not. Since I love graphing skill sets for examples, let's look at little Marvin over here. Let's say our boy Marv gets hit with a patch. Some of his skills will benefit from the patch and some will be thwarted. His challenge would be to adapt to these changes, and as he does so, his skills grow back. If overall the improvements outweigh the losses, then little Marvin will have improved over these 2 weeks, and the process repeats next patch. As a player's career gets longer and longer, this process of adaptation becomes more and more difficult. In part because age makes changes harder to process, but also because they will have years of knowledge and muscle memory ingrained within them. And this is good news for our boy Marvin, since it gives him an opportunity to catch up to the big guys. However, in an ever unchanging game, catching up to top players is much more difficult. Which is why in chess, unless you're a prodigy at a very young age, most players will tell you that you have virtually no chances to become a grandmaster and to just forget about the title. But at the same time, if you change the game too much, you get complete chaos in the competitive scene, where it's near impossible to have any consistency, and pro player careers will become even shorter than they already are. One challenge of keeping an esport interesting to play and to watch is to find a balance between stagnation and chaos. Not every player will retire for these reasons. There are a lot of players who retire for reasons I mentioned previously, like injuries. Some of the players I talked about in this very video retire for lifestyle choices, where they simply wanted to move on from the competitive gaming scene. I wanted to explore another possible reason there seems to be a trend in early retirement in this field. I was not satisfied with the reasons given to me when I was doing research for this video, since I kept thinking to myself that the same can be said for traditional sports, and there are examples of video games where top players have similar longevity. If you enjoyed watching this video, please consider dropping a like, subscribing to the channel, and watching my previous one. I intend on improving the quality of each video and try to upload a video every week talking about esports.